recording. All right, so we are recording this. Welcome to Top Tier Team's first ever manager making machine. We believe that this is going to be the first of many, but I do want to tell you that this is recorded. We are not sending this recording to just anyone. We are not going to be just posting this on our YouTube. We're not sending it out unless the request comes in, and we're going to go over that why. And because this is really important. We want to let every single one of you know that we value your time, and there's a reason why the form was required to fill out, because we want to ensure that you all know that we are as serious as we can possibly be about your businesses. We are so serious about helping you, and we need to know the gaps that there are so that we can jump in and fill those gaps for you guys.
No, that's exactly right. This slide, why not you? That was our title we used at conference, but it's why not you? Why not us? That was something that we thought of, and that's just a great opening because this is for absolutely everybody, right? This is manager making machine, right? So this is making managers. This is leadership. But you know what? Every single one of you on this call is a leader. You already identified yourself as that. But you know what? We're all leaders. We're all leading somebody at some point. It's just the level of people that you choose to lead. So that grows with you. Go to the next slide. So,
All right.
all
So the
right.
next 4 weeks, this is what we're committing to, guys. And this is a family. So if you're new, Top Tier Team, we are a family, okay? And we are going to commit together to doing several things. And please don't let this overwhelm you. The reason why we are doing this is because we know that if we do this together for the next 4 weeks as a group effort, what does that create? It creates a habit. And so habits duplicate, right? So we are going to watch and participate for the next 4 weeks in this group, right? We are not going to mute the WhatsApp
Yeah.
group.
Now that being said, so WhatsApp is a great platform. We've tried to send the message out to everybody. This is a process, and the reason there's a lot of rhyme and reason to this, and a lot of it we're also duplicating from Terry Miller, who is a great leader who's been very successful, and that's the best thing is iron sharpens iron, right? But not muting the WhatsApp group. So please, if it's not pertinent to this, we're going to be using that WhatsApp group to be asking you some questions throughout the week, to be getting some feedback through the week. But this is not the area to share your kid's first day of school or what you had for dinner or anything outside of that. We all love you. We care about you. You can check that out on Instagram or Facebook. But it's like when I told Brit, she's like, oh, well, I said, no, this is the platform for manager making machines and that only. So if we can limit the text messages and the notifications, because we want you to keep the notifications on. If you're in WhatsApp, you need to go into your notifications in the app, hit those three buttons up at the top right corner, go to your settings and enable notifications. Just if you haven't done that, that is very important. But we want to have the participation live all the time if we can. We understand life happens. If you miss one, let us know. But what we want to do is we want to run as fast as you want to run, but at the same time, we want to have some urgency and people on live because there is going to be some stuff that's going to be interactive, question and answer, role playing that we need you guys to be live and be on there. And you can cover those other trainings.
Okay, so these four, why these are important. Saturday Champion Makers training. Okay, this is not just for new brand partners. Okay, so these are so incredibly important, y'all, because when you have watched at least 4 of these, the major questions that are asked, which we're going to cover here shortly, the major questions that are asked, you will know the answers as leaders. Okay, and so that's so key. Sunday night, I put Sunday night, Sunday night, Sunday team. Okay, this is important. This is champion makers. Okay, this is where we see from other teams, all of us as a collected unit, we hear testimonies, we hear what is happening, we hear what the future of the next week is going to be. That is huge. And then the Monday top tier group, that is at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. We do that every Monday morning. The reason why we're asking you guys to do all of those is because remember, we are going to be manager making machines. And if you do it, it's going to be duplicated. And Wednesday leadership training. This is not a leadership training. Danny and Diane are doing the best, most phenomenal Wednesday leadership training. And Rick has read the book at least 6 times. And, I started like deviating from like some of our slides. And he said, Brittany, you're again trying to teach leadership. Danny and Diane are doing that. And so we want to ensure that everyone, it's in our bedroom. It's in our
There's
bedroom.
three of them in this
Yeah,
house.
there's three of them in this house. So that leadership training is huge. So make sure that you guys are on that at least for the next 4 weeks, if not indefinitely.
So 4 weeks of intentionality, right? What that's going to bring you. And this is all not in order, right? But this is some stuff that we're just tying in because leadership is important in a manager making machine. But we want to make sure that you have your own vision and that gives you some self-reflection. Take a look at that. What is that vision? Are you still on track for that? Do you still see the same vision? Have you done that self-reflection? Do you have the same goals? Is that still clear? And now we're going to go through simple organization, that's some time management. How do you get this done efficiently and effectively? And are you picking up the skills and can you transfer the skills? Do you have the confidence to be the leader and can you transfer confidence to others? So this will help you understand who you want to run with. But most important is the 4 weeks of intentionality is going to bring you multiple managers.
Yeah.
Just like
And
on the next slide.
just like on the next slide, this right here is what we want to duplicate, okay? And we're going to show you how this team is doing what they're doing. But we want to acknowledge this team because this actually happened yesterday. And I was just blown away because they don't know that I'm watching. And it's amazing to see that duplication has happened. And this team has duplicated so well. They have not even signed up like family members. They're just duplicating by using the system, and it is working. And so, I thought this right here, this is what this produces,
Yeah.
and it's so exciting.
And just the look and the layout of that, if you're on social media, take note of that. I mean, that is something that is very clean. The font, everything on there just grabs your attention, but you can just see it just reeks of success.
Yeah. And then the one thing that I want to tap on this because this is going to be so important. We respect you guys with your time. We do this full time because we were able to duplicate and create multiple managers because we were taught by Danny and Diane. My dream was for him to be home so that we could do ministry together. So please understand that this piece right here, the time management, we've put together something that we're going to be teaching throughout the next 4 weeks. That if you have a full time job, but your prayer is to get out of that because you have dreams and visions, we are going to break down minutes during the day so that you can become a manager making machine within a couple few hours a week. I mean, that's our goal. So we're going to really help you do that.
And one thing I also just want to touch base on is, we had the form for you to fill out. There's a WhatsApp group for you to join. This is something that if the form's not filled out, we don't want you on this. If this is something where you're just starting and you're not ready to share, this is not the Zoom for you.
Right.
Right. And that's not in a negative way.
Not at all.
That's just something that we're just taking this and running, and you might not be there, and that's fine. We want to make sure that we get you on the right Zooms at the right time. And if this isn't the right time for you, then you somehow are on this link and you don't feel like you should be, this would be a good time to jump off. And I mean that in the best possible way, because let's face it, we've all got to have the right timing, right? If it's you're not in the right headspace, the right time, or if it's not something, say you just started, you have no idea what we're talking about, this will be pretty goofy for you to watch.
But we will train you in the other areas. We're not going to just leave you. So it does not hurt our feelings. Our feelings do not get hurt. But this is for those of you that are saying, I'm going to be so intentional about what God has called me to do. And I know that this is the vehicle. I need to do it the most efficient and effective way possible.
And the reason we preface with that is because we're not going to be covering any science behind the X39. We're not going to be covering any of the benefits of the patch. This is nothing to do with that. This is strictly making managers.
So your why leads to your vision. Now, this is not something that we are going to harp on, but there was something that was said yesterday that I thought was so good by our presidential director. Okay. And so I'm going to ask her to unmute. Her name is Laura Kelly, and she's been very silent, but been building very effectively. And so Laura, can you ask the question that you asked yesterday? And then we're going to lead into this.
Yeah, I was just asking about why, how why relates to vision and casting vision.
And so when we talked about how why leads to vision, okay? So what is your reasoning, Laura, for doing this? Is it for the money? What is your reasoning?
No, and I think I had talked to you for a while, Brittany, and this is kind of why I felt like I was a little bit stagnant. It was no that, and it was about health and sharing, and I wanted an opportunity for any friends that I had. Sorry, I'm driving. Um, but I do know that friends have those financial goals, so I was excited to help them. But what I realized, and what I don't remember what leader said it, they just said if you don't need more money, then maybe you're not giving to enough things. So that really resonated with me and has caused me to go back and reevaluate, and realize the opportunity that we have, and that I want to make a difference in sex trafficking, like not just donate a little extra, but like literally I want to know that lives are changing, and children's lives are being saved because of the effort that I'm making and putting into this.
So, see that right there, that's a deep why, which leads to her vision. Her vision is she wants to take over the world with this technology because her why is she's going to go and save children's lives out of sex trafficking. Do you see? This is so incredibly important. Now, I know Laura from previous life of LifeWave, so I knew what her passion was. But to hear her say that again yesterday was so key because guess what? That as a leader, because she's our presidential director, we're that gave me an extra fire in my heart because I'm like, oh my gosh, every $14,670 that she makes can save a child's life and she can pull them out of sex trafficking. Okay. So, what brought me that next piece was what makes you angry is what you were created to change. And so find out what makes you angry. For me, what made me angry was when I could not see Rick pick pick up the kids from church camp and see the fire in their eyes for the Lord. It made me angry because he was working 60, 80 hours a week. And so I realized that that was a portion of my why. That was a portion of why I wanted him to be home. So that was just a little portion. My other piece is when I know that women don't know who they are in Christ or how valuable they are. Well, guess what? That's what makes me angry, which leads to me wanting to make a change, which means I want to do women's conferences, which means we need money. Okay. And so that, when I heard that from Miles Monroe, that was huge. Okay. So you have a purpose, you have a vision that was placed in your heart when you were a child. So if you do not know right now what makes you angry, that is homework number one because you were created for such a time as this. The moment is now to live it out. And LifeWave, we believe that this is your vehicle for change. So thank you, Laura.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, when it comes to your why, when you have that, that's what drives you. That's what, if your why is you want this for your kids, that having that why is not the same as your goals. The goals are but the why is what drives you. So that why has got to drive you. So when you understand your own why, it's very important to understand someone else's why. Because when we can understand someone else's why, it's easier for us to help them along in their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the next piece. Do you see yourself as a leader? Because now is the time. You guys are all leaders on this call, or you guys would not be on. I don't care if you're brand new and you haven't enrolled somebody yet. You were created in God's image, which means you were created as a leader. Okay. Now, here's the piece. We all hear the scripture a lot to whom much is given, much is expected, right? But I think a scripture that is forgotten is whoever can be trusted with little can be trusted with much. So if you say, well, I've only enrolled one, or I only have a few people on my list, well, guess what? Those people are being entrusted to you. And what you do for those people and how you lead those people, more will multiply because it's a rule. Like the Bible doesn't lie, right? It's a rule of thumb. If you are trusted with the little and you do so much, it's like sowing those seeds, right? then much will come. And so you want to remember that. And you want to look at yourself in the mirror tonight and say, I am a leader. Okay. I am a leader. Is this me? And what makes you a leader? Okay. Successful people follow successful patterns. Okay. So when I sat down across from Danny and Diane McDaniel, many of you guys know, that story, but I want you to hear it one more time. I sat across from them and I said, I have to make $50,000 a month in the first year. We have to, or Rick cannot be home. It's not that we're selfish. It's because I knew financially what ministries rely on us. And we have to make that amount so that we don't cut back from giving to those ministries, right? And so I looked at Danny and he said, then you better be ready to lead an army, a volunteer army. And I was like, I have no idea what that means. And first of all, he said, you need to identify yourself as a leader. So we enrolled one person within an hour of us jumping in. And that was my best friend at the time. And I said, you know what? Well, I say at the time because God's replaced, because I mean, look at this, you guys, there's just so many people that the Lord's connecting us with. But at the time, that was my best friend because and what was interesting was that the second that she joined, I saw myself as her leader. I plugged her into everything I possibly could. The second all the way, all within an hour, I plugged her in. And I said, if you have a dream, I want to know. What do you want to do? I knew her why. I knew everything, right? And so you see yourself as a leader, identify yourself as a leader, becoming an excellent vision painter. I looked at her and I said, this is where we're going to go. We are going to go and impact this entire world, okay?
Now, I want everyone just to remember what Britt just said about that one situation of enrolling someone within an hour and what she just said about what she did and that vision and plugged in. Just remember that.
Yeah, because see, I knew her moment of what she needed, right? And so just remember that piece. And then I block the outside noise. Okay. Whenever there are things that are going to hit you, you've got to block it from your team, from the people that, because there's going to be frustrations around along the way. This is a business. Okay. Anybody that says this is a scheme, they know, like anybody that knows me now on this call, it's like drawing nails on a chalkboard. This is anything but a scheme. This is work. And I am going to block the outside noise the best I can from all of you. And I'm going to do the best. Rick is going to do the best. It's just like in a marriage, right? There are so many times that Rick has protected me from things that he's been dealing with because he was my leader, right? And so blocking the outside noise is very important. And you want to understand that what makes you a leader is playing follow the leader the best. I looked at Danny and I said, I don't care if it means that I'm standing on my head. Tell me what to do, and I'm going to follow what you and Diane tell me to do. And I would call Diane and say, okay, what do I do next? Okay, what do I do now? Get 3 people on a Zoom. Okay, how do I do that? This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to watch the video and say. Okay. And so that is huge. Leadership is influence, right? And so understand that you're influencing whether good or bad, right? And so if you want to win, do what others won't do. Okay? That's so big because so many people look at me and Rick and go, I would never do. And I'm like, well, don't say never, number one, or you won't. Okay? And the other piece is if you're not willing to do it, then just understand that you're not probably going to get what you want out of it. Okay? A leader is not a do as I say, it is a do as I do. And so everything that we are teaching in this model, we are doing. And it's going to be the same thing for you because you guys are going to be able to take this and duplicate it. And a leader is not an enabler. Okay? So I'm going to hold my hand up very, very high. I'm an enabler. That's my sin. Guys, we cannot drag people across the finish line, okay? A leader is not an enabler. What we are doing is we are teaching those that join us what to do, where to find the things, all of the things we're teaching, we're ensuring that it's whatever is taught is caught. Okay. You know, I love that. Whatever was taught is caught. Okay. If you enable, the train will stop right there. So let's say that my friend Kristen joins, okay? And I tell her what to do, okay? But I don't ensure that she's doing it, okay? And I just send her things. Where do I find this? I just send her things. I never tell her where to find them or show her where to find them. I just send, which I was doing that for a while. The train stopped in that group. The leadership stopped, right? And so that's important to understand. What were you going to say? What were you going to say? I'm an enabler, but I'm getting better. I'm
I know
getting
better than
better.
falling into that trap.
Getting better. So, as leaders, we are the thermostat, okay? So, it's our job to set the temperature. So, your organization, you are going to be the thermostat for your team. You want to set the temperature for your team. Everything that you do is going to set what is going to be. Is that it? All right, great.
So, importance of manager position. Now, this is the foundation of growth, right? So, when Britt and I jumped into this, we didn't know anything about direct sales. We didn't know any of this stuff, but we kept it extremely simple, right? And you've got to remember. So, at least I'm hoping everyone on this call knows the manager position: two left, two right, auto ship, core or above, 110 BV per month, right? Manager's what gets momentum going. That is the backbone of absolutely everything, right? We talk about that acknowledgement that we just saw on Facebook. That rank acknowledgement, that is extremely important. Recognition is important. Most people aren't getting recognition at their job, right? They're not getting recognition sometimes at home. That is something that is really, really important. We all want to be recognized when we're doing a good job. So make sure you're sending and knowing when your people are ranking up that you're getting it to the right people so it can be sent out and they can be recognized correctly and it can be done with excellence, just like we saw. But the volume growth begins to happen, right? So you've got duplication, you've got volume, but the simplicity of manager is absolutely key. And Britt and I were talking about this earlier. She said, "Oh, we make a slide with I don't like the lines and all the circles. It's overwhelming." Right? For me, just seeing it is overwhelming. But this whole business is based off of making managers, right? And the most important thing is when you're doing it is that it gets done correctly from the get-go, right? So that very first conversation with Diane and Danny was key because you know
Yeah.
what? If you heard, Britt said within an hour when she enrolled her friend, what did she say? She'd already sent information. So what had to happen? Danny and Diane had to give us all the information and talk to us about it so Britt could then explain it. So Britt had already looked at, if you know Brittany, she'd already gone through absolutely everything. She was watching all the stuff.
And school
But
did not exist at the time.
all the other stuff, what they did is they gave her a recipe to give it to Kristen right off the bat, and that's what was duplicated. But back to simplicity of manager: two on your left, two on your right. You're enrolling four people, right? Now this is where a lot of people get stuck. They've enrolled their four and they stop. But just as the same way you were invited onto a Zoom, right? And somebody called and asked you and says, "Hey, you know what? We came into the stem cell technology and we really love to get you on the Zoom. This is going to be life changing. What are you dealing with? Oh, you've got high blood pressure. This is going to be perfect. Can I count on you to be on the Zoom?" Yes. And you jumped on a Zoom. You had some questions. They enrolled you. Then you got the information, all the stuff to join. All that stuff has to be duplicated. But when that happens and you've done that with people and they enroll with you and you've enrolled four, even with your first one, you start off by doing the exact same thing. So all you need to do is take those four people, you've now enrolled them, right? So you've enrolled four people. Now what do you have to do? Even if you only get two of them to do it, right? As you get two of them to duplicate what you just did, what do you have? Now you've got a manager on each side, and now your director, right? And then you just continue down line duplicating the process of manager. But that skill has to be transferred to the initial person. So if I sign up Britt and I do it the correct way and I enroll her correctly and I give her all the assets that she can use to be successful, and I show her, hey, this is what it is, and I ask her the question, who else in your life do you know that could be impacted by the X39? And she says, you know what? My mom's dealing with this. My brother's dealing with this. And I have a brother, but so forth. And you get that information, you're walking her through how to become a manager, right? And when she does that, guess what? She's then got to transfer that skill to the next person. But you know what you have to do as the leader is you might have to be for that three-way phone call because it takes a couple times for the skill to be transferred. And that's what we're doing is we're transferring the skill. But the simplicity of this whole thing, people get stuck in the weeds. Don't get stuck on the 100 BV, 110 BV. Don't get stuck all the way in the comp plan that's not out yet. Don't get stuck on all the stuff. If you're creating managers, you're winning, right? So you've got that there. You've already got manager. You've got director. Now you keep duplicating down line, and you're transferring the skill to that person so they can duplicate down line. And then guess what? Now you've got two directors, and you're ranking up again. So with all this, the money comes. But if we get lost in the weeds of trying to figure out all these different things, the focus and the duplication stops. And
Yeah,
that is one of the hard parts, but it's very simple. If you really look at the business from a standpoint, is if I just create managers, right? Create managers for yourself. But if you can duplicate that and create it downline your managers, all you're doing is helping them create managers. And I'll tell you, when people jump into this business and they make it to manager fairly quickly, they feel good and they continue to share. When people are
absolutely.
stagnant and they don't have the information, I'll tell you, a lot of people don't have the information. The odds of them sharing are fairly thin. So we've got to keep it extremely, extremely, extremely simple. Just create managers.
Okay, and let me talk to you real quickly about rank acknowledgement. Guys, this is our family, right? And for those of you in the corporate world, for those of you that are teachers, for those of you that are service leaders, okay? It is very rare to get acknowledgement in that world. It is so important as leaders to acknowledge the people for impacting people's lives because that might be the only recognition that they get. They might be going through something personal at home that is so horrible. This is a ministry, really. And so you get an opportunity to bless people by acknowledging them for impacting people's lives. Because every time you've hit manager, you've impacted four lives that are going to be changed as long as they use the patches correctly. And you teach them to use the patches correctly, and you set the reality of how long they need to wear the patches. There's going to be four lives that are changed. So knowing making waves and the This Is It team is vital. And those links we're going to cover, but those links are in the WhatsApp group. That's why the WhatsApp group is so important.
Recognition, that doesn't just pertain to just this and management. You should be giving people their flowers every chance you get, right? That is something that one, you see people just like you're almost pumping them up and you see that. But you know what? Also for you, it feels good because you're giving someone that compliment and you can see that they appreciate it and you can see that it made a difference in their day. So it's real important and you never know why. You always give people their flowers every opportunity they get.
Absolutely.
So one of these most important items to learn to duplicate, right? Communication. That is extremely difficult. And just so you always know, guys, there's always a yin and a yang, right? When Britt and I are talking about this, is there's a lot of people that will say, you know what, I'll go straight to Brittany because Rick might not give me the answer that I want to hear. But my biggest and my favorite thing is developing people and winners, right? And I did that for a long time in the car business. That was a lot of my why. That was my why, is
Mhm.
because I wanted to see people develop and grow. Trying to find that communication is one of the hardest things to do because we all hear what we want to hear when we want to hear it, right? And it's similar to this. And this is why this was so important that we wanted to do this, is because even with this being said, and the manager making machine and the text and the form to fill out and all that stuff, there was probably 40 people in the last 2 hours,
Mhm.
3 hours,
Yeah.
but it's been out there for a while. But we understand life happens. And that's exactly what it is. So the communication is key. And that's where we want it to stop. It doesn't need to stop, sorry, is where we want it to just continue to flow all the way down.
Yeah. And onboarding your people correctly. And we're going to cover this, but onboarding correctly. There are pieces in school already about onboarding. We've put that on the top tier YouTube page. There's a whole onboarding link. So again, in your links, there is a at top tier YouTube page, and there is actually a playlist that says onboarding. And there's literally even how to get your wallet set up. everything, we put everything in order. Okay, and auto ship. This is so incredibly important. This is something that you absolutely need to duplicate. Now, Danny and Diane, they enrolled us. We were about 4 months in, and I will never forget, and Diane would absolutely probably never forget, when I got to auto ship, she's like, well, don't worry about that. She said, we'll do that later. Well, what did I tell everybody? My first 28 people, don't worry about that. We'll do that later. So what ended up happening? We kept falling off as manager. And that was like, why am I falling off? Why is this person falling off? Why did I lose rank? Because I was working, right? My why was very clear to me. So auto ship is vital. And I'm going to review real quickly the verbiage with the auto ship. Okay. So if somebody says, well, I just jumped in as a core, I got 3x39s. I don't need them for 3 months. Do you know what I say? Well, this is what you need to know, Susie. Okay. This is actually a binary. It's literally like you just got a spot in Apple or Microsoft. And anybody that joins after you, that volume is going to begin to accrue underneath you. And if you ever choose to share this technology, which you will, your volume is going to be ready sitting there. What other things are you looking for? Are you looking for, I know that you have 3x39s coming, but what about how do you sleep? Do you have a friend that you know has a lot of issues with pain? Okay, you know what? Let's auto ship for you 2 ice waves and you'll just get those because that's going to be really great for you to have on hand. Because if people doubt when you talk to them about the technology, you can have ice wave on hand and you can ice wave them and they'll want to do the core, the advanced, or the premium. Boom. See, you're explaining to them that they're going to lose and it's a takeaway. You know, you don't want to take away that volume from them, right? They don't want that volume to be gone. Now, you can't make them do it, but remember that verbiage is key. So write that down because you don't want people to come back to you and go, well, how come they have $250,000 worth of volume and I don't have anything, right? So that's absolutely key.
Auto ship is just very important just due to the fact when you look up and you see when you've lost rank, it's normally because somebody didn't ship in the time they were supposed to ship. And that's what like she said, that is super important. Now you can take yourself off auto ship. The number one reason people say that they don't want to go on auto ship or on subscription is because they don't believe in it yet.
Yeah.
Right. So there's still a gap there. And that's part of that gap you have to close. Right. And they say, okay, I don't want to do the auto ship. In other words, I don't know if it works yet. So that would be something you also want to address because that's normally the nice way of somebody telling you, I'm not sure if this is for me. I'm not sure if it works. And that's just a nice way of saying that. It's okay. You've just got to go through.
And I love this question. Is the verbiage also used for those who say, I don't want to do the business? Absolutely. You know, for me, I say, you may never want to do the business, but let me tell you, you have no idea what is in the future of this company. And you don't know if you're going to not want to share with sister, brother, mother. Hey, question for you. When somebody says this, y'all, this is my different personality than Rick Francis. When somebody says, I don't think I'm going to want to share, what do you say? And this makes me want to crawl under a hole,
Well,
but it's
now
good.
for preface, for those of you who know me, know my heart, some of the stuff could come across, sometimes there's two different ways, and you have to know who you're talking to. This has to be with someone that I know and I have a history with,
Right.
right? Or it could be just something that I'm just picking up with something that maybe they're not seeing in a blind spot and needs to just be put in a different way that sometimes wakes people up. Right. But one of the examples that, she heard, she wanted to crawl under a rock, but it still was okay when they said, hey, I don't want to share. And I said, well, you know what? I think that's bold of you. I think that's very bold and courageous that you don't want to share. And I just looked at him and I said, are you being sarcastic? I said, no, I think that's very bold. It's very courageous that you have something in your hand that could help your loved ones and that could have them feeling better, but you're that bold and courageous to look them in the eye and not share it with them. I would have a harder time looking someone in the eye and not sharing something with them than knowing that I have something to make them feel better and sharing with them. So it takes courage to not share something that's great.
Now remember, his dad is alive because his dad is using this technology. So there's a conviction behind his voice because he believes in it so deeply. That's what caused Rick to say, I'm not doing the dealership anymore. My dad's alive now because of this, because his dad was in heart failure. So understanding that your level of conviction matters is very, very key.
And the other thing, and on the other hand, with most people, I'll say that's understandable. I completely agree with you. I'm completely fine with that. When your patches come in, please call me. Let's talk about it. Let's put them on. I want to see how you feel. Make sure you're getting your water. Make sure you're getting your electrolytes, and then let's monitor it after the first 48 hours and at the end of the week. And you can then walk with them. But there are certain times when someone is being that bold, and the way I look at it is basically it's and like I said, don't take it the wrong way. It's a quote, right? I think it was Einstein, right? And it's for people that say, oh, it doesn't work. And I said, okay, that is the height of ignorance, right? If you can condemn something without looking into it, right? Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance. That is exactly what it is because all of a sudden you can be talking to someone and you tell them about the patch and what do you hear? Ah, no, I think it's all just voodoo. It's all nonsense. It doesn't work. And all of a sudden, that person, that works over here at HEB is the smartest guy in the room and is basically telling David Smith and telling all the testimonies that you've seen that this doesn't work. So
Yes.
you've got to take that with a grain of salt, but that's also what happens when you sometimes we say that, and that's not exactly what we mean.
Right.
There's normally underlying things. So you can't take it personally, but that's what they're saying is, hey, this they're saying that, but they haven't investigated yet, means you just have to give them more information. You
Yep.
have to give them more information that's pertinent to them and their situation at the time. So that is right back to understanding their why. So that is another thing that we're talking about. And so when someone says that, it's all you've got to start peeling the layers back, right? So you peel the layers back to find out someone's why. Because normally that's very similar to when you walk into a store and someone says, hey, can I help you find something? No, I'm just looking. When you know you had a serious intent to go buy X or to go buy that, whatever it is, that's what
That's a
you're
good
doing, but
example.
it's a reaction. So when people say, I don't believe in all that, I don't do the pyramid things, I don't do direct sales, you just need to give them more information pertinent to them.
Use the system. Okay. So copy, paste, send. This system, save yourself time, energy, and money. There were so many times that Rick and I looked at this and I was like, okay, there's got to be easier ways to do this. And it was there. It's copy, paste, send. And Terry Miller is a perfect example to this. Okay. She was in another business, so she had a non-compete. So she was not allowed to speak on Zooms, do presentations, do anything. She used the system. Daily method of operation, called, got people on the Zooms, followed up. So, copy, paste, send is something that you want to teach, and we will be covering that later.
Now, this was one of the slides that we used at Next Level, and of course, is one of my favorite slides because it's
If
got
you're a soccer player,
soccer
you'll get
player.
it. I didn't.
If you don't understand, that's David Beckham is playing from England. That's where I'm from, and that is when we beat Argentina in 2002. That was known as a revenge game, right? But basically, this was on the cover of the newspaper in England. They obviously photoshopped the purses on their hands right there. But David Beckham scored a lot of goals from free kicks. So you've heard the movie Bend It Like Beckham. He could bend that soccer ball like there was like nobody else's business, right? So for history, he scored 65 goals from the free kick. And that's not a penalty spot, but that's a free kick. But just for context, I think Messi is at 64 and Ronaldo, or sorry, Cristiano Ronaldo is at 64, Messi 68. Irrelevant, right? But what this is we've got a system, we've got a process. We're part of This Is It team. Champion Makers is part of This Is It team. Top tier falls underneath that. We're following the system. We deviated from the system for a while, right?
Mhm.
Everyone goes through it. When you sat there and say, you know what, I can do this better. I'm going to do it different. If David Beckham was to come to your practice field and you're a professional soccer player and he says, Rick, you know what? I'm going to show you exactly how I take a free kick. I'm going to show you everything from placing the ball to the way I swing my arm to my foot placement to exactly what I'm doing to what foot I'm landing on. He's going to give the secret sauce that nobody else has been able to do, but he's going to give you that. And he gives you that. And then you put the ball down and you say, nah, I'm not going to do it that way. I think I can do it just a little different. And you've never scored a professional free kick in your life. Why would you not follow the system in place? And that was something we had to ask ourselves. We had to revert back to the system, and we also had to get the system to work for us. So that was key. And now, this whole thing, when we talk about duplication, it is one thing for us to know where to find the things, or for you to know where to find the things. The most important thing is that skill and that knowledge gets transferred down to every single person that you enroll as a brand partner, and that they also understand that anyone they enroll, it goes down all the way too. And that's something that you can keep an eye on and you can measure. And that there's some tools that we're going to cover next week and how you can make sure that's happening. But that is how duplication happens. Now, it's easier said than done because communication is absolutely everything. Just this, Thursday night, this course, just the communication, we've seen where we've got some kinks in the communication, right? But communication from everywhere from signing someone up. How do you introduce the technology, right? If you're going to call somebody, or if you want to share the patch, are you doing it with a phone call, a text, or are you doing a voice message, right?
Because it will be duplicated.
Because that's going to be duplicated. So the duplication starts the moment you invite someone to the Zoom, because that's something we're doing, right? We're inviting people to a Zoom. But I don't think a text message does the X39 justice. It doesn't do the business justice, the potential, right? There's not many deals that people walk in and say, hey, you want a job? You want to come interview? No, I'm just going to send you a text. I want to make $1 million. Doesn't really happen. They need to hear the conviction in the voice, but you also need to ask them questions when you're inviting them to the Zoom. You have to ask those questions. What are you dealing with? Right? What are some stuff going on in your life? What are you dealing with? You have to listen. And then once they're in and you understand their why, so you have those, you're asking those questions. Those are all things that Diane and Danny did prior to us enrolling. And as we were enrolling and they were typing our stuff in, they were asking those questions, they were listening. And that was then, which we didn't realize at the time, what did we do? We mimicked exactly what they did with when Britt made the first phone call, right? Now we get to, once they're on your team, they're now on your team. How are you going to communicate? Now it's okay to send a text message, right? It's okay to do that. But you're going to look at how often do you do it? There's some people that they communicate a lot, and that's great. I'm all for over communicating because there shouldn't be anything left to chance where someone says, I got left out of that, or I didn't know about that, or I never got the opportunity to grow the business because I didn't know any of this existed.
And there are
And
several people that have joined us from other organizations that have been out of LifeWave for a year. And guess what? They came to us and said, we didn't know that there was an opportunity.
mhm,
Nobody
there's
told them because they were too scared to tell them there was an opportunity.
there's a huge amount of people, and this is real important. This is becoming a leader, and this is becoming a manager making machine, is you have to dig down in your downline, and it's not too late
And we're going to teach you how
to,
to
to
do that.
correct that and say, hey, you know what? There is opportunity, because that's something that we talk about all the time. We take that very seriously, right? People work hard for their money, right? And people need miracles, and they need health miracles. They also might need financial miracles.
Yeah.
You want to give them the option all the time, and you've got it all in front of them. I know Claudette's on here. I see her communication all the time. And I love it because you know what? It's impactful because it's always there. Now, there's probably some people that see Britt's text, and you don't see many from me, but they're from both of us. But when you see them and they go, oh, and they're not paying attention to
And they
it.
mute it.
But guess what happens? They mute it. And now everybody that they enrolled, they just took that opportunity for them to
And
even
stole
find
it
out
from them.
about. They're blocking their blessing, right? They're saying, hey, you know what? They're making
Which
a
they're
decision
blocking
for you.
miracles, and I'm miracle motivated. They're blocking somebody else's miracle.
Mhm.
Because if they would have seen that so and so was presenting, they might have thought of, oh my gosh, this person would love this, but they didn't know.
And that's why the communication is everything, especially with the duplication, because we can all look back and say, would I be sitting on this Zoom, or would I be where I'm at today if I wasn't communicated well by the person that enrolled me? Or if somebody further up the line had to get to you and give you the information, because that's what has to happen. Now, when you're sending some of these text messages to say, hey, X39 training at this time, are you just sending those? Is it getting stale and you're just sending times? Or are you still painting the opportunity? Right? Because there's an opportunity right there. And Britt does this extremely well, is when she's telling you to jump on a Zoom or she's giving you the information of this Zoom, She's looking at who the speaker is and she's seeing opportunity for everybody. And you hear once again the conviction. And the conviction doesn't come from her just because she wants you on the Zoom. No, it's because exactly where her heart is, what she just said. She never wants an opportunity blocked or a blessing blocked. So that is something that you have to do is still paint that opportunity. Now, when you look at your team and who you've enrolled, are how often are you touching base with them? And when you're touching base, what does that conversation look like? Are you still asking questions? Are you still mentoring and growing? And you don't even have to have that type of mentor
Hmm.
relationship. We're all in the same boat as doing this and jumping in. There's just suggestions, and I'll tell you, we've made plenty of mistakes, and we're still going to make plenty of mistakes,
Yep.
right? And you're going to hear about one later. But this is one that this is something when you're having that conversation, you know what? That is something when I have that call and Danny,
Mhm.
you know what I know is that he cares.
Yep.
And that's what's most important is people care. And that way, so sometimes and he always seems to catch me at that right time when maybe doubt's creeping in, maybe the devil's creeping in, whatever it is, then he knows my why. He knows Britt's why, and he's able to take that and say, focus,
Hmm.
focus back here, drown out the noise. You're a leader. He reaffirms what I already knew from the get-go, but I just got blurred.
Yeah. And so remember, you are the thermostat. Okay. And there are times that I've had meltdowns, and Rick's like, oh my gosh, you're going to have a meltdown. Well, I had to catch myself. So remember the whys because, like he said, Danny knew ours. Okay. When they come in, my business will grow. I want you guys to hear this, listen to this, lean into this. This is the wrong idea and the wrong mentality. Okay. And this is what I mean. Oh my gosh, when this doctor starts introducing it, my volumes are going to explode. When this team starts putting all their players on it, my this business is going to explode. Guys, do not chase just the big fish.
Yeah, that is something exactly. And I was, guilty of that when I
Yes.
first, because I didn't know. But you know what? And I tell people all the time that when I went to Believe Conference, my whole vision was changed, right? Because what I did is I looked at who's in the room. And you should always do this when you're looking in a room and you're seeing who's successful, who's winning, and you see the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they act. What are they doing? I realized, you know what I didn't see in there? I didn't see a celebrity. I didn't see anyone who was bigger than anyone else. I didn't see anyone who was bigger than life. I saw a lot of people that were plugged into the system and doing that. And that is something extremely important. We keep talking about duplication because it is absolutely paramount. It doesn't matter what I did in the car business. It doesn't matter what it is. If I know my why and I've shared that with them, I told Danny, I've got to be coachable, trainable. That's what we have to do is be coachable and trainable. And if this is what someone who's successful did, I'm going to do exactly like that
Yep.
because that road's already been paved. I'm
Yep.
going to go do that.
Yep. We have what they need. You do not need them. We have what they need. And
Mm.
God put them on your heart for a reason. And if they say not now, your urgency is not their emergency. Write that down. Your urgency is not their emergency. Okay. So if they say no or not right now, my dear friend Lauren is on here. And guess what? It wasn't God's timing yet. And then she messaged me and said, it's time. And she jumped in premium and she's going all the way because I know her why, right? So do remember, God has them set aside for you. And if there is a no, it is out of protection for your business. Do not get upset. Do not get, oh, my business isn't going to grow. There's such a big fish. No, you don't need them. They need what we have. Okay. We do not wait on anyone. So if there's not a large enough urgency in your voice, okay, then your whole team isn't going to have a large enough urgency. Okay. So if you're like, gosh, they're not, let me pull back around and let me pull back the train and let me go and check on this person. It's, hey, you have no idea what you're missing. I so want you doing this with me. Let me know when you're ready. Okay. We lead with intentionality, reminding them where you're leading them. Okay. You revisit, but you continue to do your daily method of operation. You don't slow down. You keep it simple and you keep it duplicatable.
So yeah, you prioritize the Zooms and give the tools that are available. You've heard it a million times. That's what it is. There's plenty of times that Brent and I have said, hey, you know what, let's, and we focus on, hey, trying to do this different, trying to do this different. Nope. Just get people on the Zooms, invite them. It's what was working. That's how we were enrolling 40 people right off the bat, and all people that have never done this. But we prioritize the Zooms. So this being said, we got away from that, right? We got away from the stuff. We started jumping in this patch manual and patch playbook, right? Some of you guys are seeing this. I'm going to be extremely just transparent and just call it.
And this is just leaders
this,
right now. This is why
stay in this room, but it came. I got it from above us as well, and it was something that was talked about, right? We were told, hey, you know what? Why are you putting this stuff out here? Why would you do that? It's patch edu. I don't know if you guys know this, but Patch EDU has taken multiple people from people on this team and other teams around because of the stuff that's on there. And that patch playbook and the patch manual, that is something where they're actually, people are looking at it, they're reading through it, and they're actually going on Patch EDU and they're enrolling, right? So that is being done, and that's not something that, that we agree with, and
she
neither does
should be
anyone else.
pointing people back.
Pointing people back, but
But
that's
that's
neither
what
here
it
nor
is.
there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the most important part of why not is we deviated. And you know what we've seen in terms of, and I'm just talking growth because I'm talking business, the patch manual, the patch placement stuff, and all those different things, it's not duplicatable. We're not Sammy the Scientist. We need to do this very duplicatable. Most of the people that are winning this business aren't doctors, don't have the background. There are a few that have the knowledge, but you've got to stick to what's duplicatable and what is a higher percentage of winning. So the patch manual, it can be tough, but if that's something, now obviously use it for your own knowledge. And if you have the knowledge and you want to help people, but when
Absolutely.
it comes to term for growth, you'll spend a lot of time researching patch manual. If I told you how many minutes we spent on the phone trying to figure out over the phone where to put a patch for somebody, or looking up this or looking up that, when we should just stick to the thing, we'd be so far ahead. And I'm just telling you just from a strict business standpoint.
Yep, that's all this
right?
is.
And I'll just tell you, in terms of taking other people, you know what? It was out there. You know what? Great job. She markets the book very well, and it's on, and that's great money there. But you know what? I just couldn't. If somebody came to me and they know, and they'd heard about it from Laura, and I said, I want to sign up with you. No, you're going back to Laura. Or if it's someone from another team, no, you're doing that. There's not a patch out that's gonna for character yet. It's just not out yet. Maybe one day it will be. But you know what? Doing all this, the whole key to manager making machine is breaking it down to that simple level. And that's how simple it should be. Two on your left, two on your right. You just need to get four people, transfer that to somebody else. Do not get anxiety and overthink the comp plan, especially the comp plan that's not out yet. Don't overthink the water that's not out yet. If it's not available and you can't sell it right there, then don't worry too much about it at the time. But a lot of people, and this is what I'm saying, it is not to be mean, is take the first steps first. Just keep making managers and you're going to do well. The rest is going to come together. The more you immerse yourself in the business and the stuff, the more stuff are going to make sense. And when you have questions, pick up your phone to your upline, and if you don't get the answer, keep going. But you've got to look, are you making managers, or are you worried about senior director or presidential director, and you haven't got to manager yet?
Or you haven't
got
helped your
there.
people.
You haven't got your people there, because everybody needs each other. And that's the power of being on a team. And that is the beauty of it, is we've tripped up and made many mistakes, and we're still going to make mistakes. And you know what? But we've learned from Danny and Diane and Champion Makers, who have made mistakes as well. Steve and Gina, this is it. They've made mistakes. But you know what? I'm never going to think that I know better than Steve and Gina until I've surpassed Steve and Gina, right?
Yeah.
That's something that you've got to have. And you know what? It's okay to try different things, but you've got to keep it on a short leaf. And I would not try with other people's money or other people's blessings. That is just something that should be very taken very, very
And it
strongly.
slows, and I will tell you this, what slowed us down is that I was so busy trying to make it easier for you guys that we stopped enrolling, right? And so that's what will happen for you as well. And you know what? We didn't have as many testimonies. It was weird. It was interesting because I'm very testimony driven. And for about 60 days, testimonies stopped happening because the people that we were helping, we were seeing testimonies from them, but not our own from our people. And that's what motivates me, right? And so that's very important to remember. And you know what stuck out to me this weekend was David Schmidt when he was being interviewed. And the interview is in at the top tier LifeWave. If you want to watch that, I know Pat Davis found a long version too, but which was all everything, which was really great, but was very, very interesting. He said, put the patch where it hurts. Even glutathione, even Eon. It was so interesting. And so don't overthink everything. Yes, there are acupoints. Yes, there's all those things, and they're great. But don't overthink it, because guess what? You overthink it, you just duplicated that it's something that you have to overthink. And people will, when a confused mind does what? Nothing. Nothing, right? And so just remember that what you want is duplication at its finest. And if they are being plugged into the system, they're going to hear a system from Steve and Gina. They're going to hear a system from Danny and Diane. And you know what's so interesting is Danny and Diane weren't concerned about bringing people to Steve and Gina's, because Steve and Gina follow the same system, even though their school app is different than Danny and Diane's. They still said join school. All of our people understood it.
Yes.
So very, very good. Very good. So make sure what is being taught is caught. So organize your tools and teach your people to do the same. And all of these pieces can be found in school, and we're going to be following up with that.
Skip that.
Okay. Okay, homework.
Yeah, so this is what we want everyone to do is to go in there, find one of your favorite go-to trainings. So training, brand partner training, and one X39 presentation. That's the phone number. So screenshot it, take a picture. That's my iPhone. That's that phone number. I want you each to send it to me.
We're going to categorize and see which one is the best.
And we picked my phone number because Britt made me get an iPhone and I don't like to use it. And I only have like 10 minutes of screen time a week, I guess. I don't know. Whatever it is, send it there. But we want to see what that is. We're going to start looking at that, and we want to see exactly what that is. And then we're going to, so that way, as a big group and as a team, we can start sharing that and doing that as well. So, but most importantly, verify that each of your people are on all the platforms listed. Now, you probably want to go into
so right here, into the chat. You're going to tap on WhatsApp. Okay, and somebody unmute themselves if and tell me if you can't see it. So you're going to tap on the chat, and at the very top, you're going to see Manager Making Machine. You're going to tap that again. Okay, and do you see here? If you go down, it says Media, Links, and Docs. When you tap that, there's your media. This right here is your pro strategy that we use. Who you've contacted, how many times you've contacted them. Okay, so you can download that. That is I put that on there for you guys. The links these are all vital links that you can make sure that all of your people have access to. And then the documents are all the documents that you want to have on hand. And so for these next 3
Hey Britt, can you put that on the big screen? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, stop sharing.
Oh, duh. Okay, sorry guys.
Now keep in mind, if some of you don't see it in WhatsApp, you might have to jump out of the
right here.
Close it and reopen it. Because yeah, look at mine, Britt.
Okay, so let's close it. Okay, so here's your WhatsApp group. This is why your phone was blowing up earlier, guys. Okay. So there was a method to my madness. Okay. Why isn't it?
That's what I'm saying.
So, well, what's wrong with yours? Okay, so I'll redo it one more time. Okay, I promise you I will not blow your phones up. Okay, this will be it afterwards. Okay, but you will be able to tap it, click media, links, and docs. Okay, the links are all here. So the homework is to make sure that all these Facebook groups, okay, that are on here, that your people are taught to go to them and that it's sent, okay? And then same thing with the documents, okay? And I'll resend those just in case, because I don't know how WhatsApp is. If you just joined, you may not have access to those links. So I'll resend all of those right after we get off this Good.
Most importantly is just make sure that everyone on your team has gone in there and they have access, because there's so many people we run across that says, I didn't know you guys have Zooms. I didn't know you guys have training on this day. I didn't know about any of this stuff. You have to dive in there and see where in the organization that communication, that you've got a kink in it somewhere. So you just got to track down where that is. And that's something that, like I said, that's the most important thing, and it's never too late. You just got to jump in there. It gives you a time and an opportunity to revisit everything with that person anyway.
I don't know what just happened. What happened to my screen?
Broke your computer.
Did I break my computer? Can somebody? Oh, there I am.
See all this Apple nonsense.
Oh, you. Okay. And then verify each of your people know where to find those documents. Okay. So right here, verify that your people know where to find the documents. Okay. So all the documents that we reviewed today are going to be in there. Okay. And you know, I'll make sure, yeah, there's a lot of people that are saying that they're not there. So I'm going to add them one more time. Please don't get frustrated. Don't mute the group. I promise I'm just going to add them one more time. And so that you guys can see them and have them all on hand. And remember, the majority of them are going to be on school, right? The majority of them are going to be on school.
And guys, I know we're at 9 o'clock and we're gonna do this. So next week we're gonna have some more time to get into the nitty gritty on some of the
Yes.
processes, and also do some Q&A. And like I said, be prepared to be called on. Especially if we text you beforehand, but just be looking out on the WhatsApp. Just be looking for just any questions, and participation is key for all this, because at the end of the day, while we're sitting here, is we want everybody to win so bad. So bad. You have no idea
We do.
how bad we want everyone to win, and we will give you absolutely everything we've got. Might not be the best, and if we don't have the answer, we're going to go find it for you, because you know what? Every single person on this call is a leader. Every single person has what it takes, and every single person that you come in contact with is also of the same high quality, because I know you would be hanging around with people that aren't. So it's just priceless. I'm just so excited for everyone to be on this call. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your dedication for jumping on something like this, because it just shows which way this team is going and the direction we're all moving.
And I just want you guys to know, I did message Danny and Diane, and I said, I want y'all to hear me. We are the most silent team on Champion Makers. I said, but I know where we're all going. And I said, although we don't have people that have ran all of these businesses, I said, I would say that our team is the strongest. And they just laughed. And I was like, because they didn't disagree, I don't doubt that they kind of agree. And so, I just know what God's shown me is going to happen out of this. And it's going to be millions of miracles. I love how Renita says millions of miracles on the This Is It team. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be from our people.
And guys, the WhatsApp group isn't something for all your team to jump in.
Right.
This specific WhatsApp group is for the people that are on this right now, that have filled out the form and that have committed to being a manager making machine. The links are just to put in a place where you can find out if they're there. You can share with them the YouTube page. You can share with them in school. You want to verify some of these things, because you're going to find out, and this is part of that self-reflection when you have to check that temperature, right? You got to check that temperature and say, hey, you know what? I looked down, and you know what? There's 10 people that are in my downline that have no idea who their who their
Or they're not on
is.
auto ship.
They're not on auto ship, or they just don't have the information. They're not in school. They're not on a text group. They're not in the Facebook group. They're not on the YouTube channels. They're not seeing any of the training because there was somewhere in there. So you've got to start digging downward, and that way you're going to go find it. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So with that, every single person, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording. Okay. And